Welcome to Going Off Script, y'all.
Yes, welcome to the first edition of our new venture. My name is Cannon, and this gentleman here is Jake.
Yeah, that's me. We're kind of here to talk about films that we really enjoy. Kind of think like a book club for movies. Less new things, more just stuff that's special to us and we want to talk about.
Kind of to extend off of Jake a little bit more, Going Off Script is meant to be that book club for movies where a few media nerds get together to dissect each movie via behind the scenes, its notoriety, cast and crew involved, and what else may catch our attention. We love media of all sorts and kinds, and the people behind the scenes deserve all the kudos.
With that, we're going to talk about Krampus.
Krampus! Yes!
It's the holidays, but it's not a very happy holiday for Max and his family. They accidentally summoned the demonic anti-Santa, and it's up to the Angles to fight to survive against an unspeakable ho-ho horror. Keep the
Oh,
fire hot, grab some hot chocolate, because it's time to talk about Krampus.
yes. A movie that is very near and dear to my heart. Now, I want to be transparent about this. I did not have the opportunity to go and see this in theaters, whether it be work, wherever I was in my life. But when it did come to a physical release, I jumped at the first opportunity that I had to watch it. And it's funny because this movie serves as a staple of one of the films that my family and I watch every Christmas now.
I recently just watched this movie. Cannon wanted to talk about this, so I ended up throwing it on, and I love this movie. I can't believe I've never watched it. It surprised me how little people talk about it. I think that's just because over the years, there's been a lot of Krampus movies, and they're all pretty terrible.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is one of those Christmas dark horse like comedic horror films, but it's a great story. That overall arching theme is no matter how much you actually hate your family and they drive you mad, especially during that stressful holiday season, you really got to be careful what you wish for. And we see it throughout this film.
Mine's delicious.
Well, I guess I should have gotten your bird.
An amazing cast. We can start with that. Almost all TV people. I mean, they all have other roles we've seen them in, but TV is predominantly. We have Adam Scott, Parks and Rec, Party Down, lots of other things.
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers. We have Toni Collette far before Hereditary happened. So this is back when we're looking more at Sixth Sense and United States of Terror.
Everybody forgets she was Haley Joel Osment's mom in The Sixth Sense.
I didn't remember that until looking this stuff up for this. We've got David Koechner, who is Packard on The Office. He's in Anchorman as well.
Champ.
I couldn't remember his name. Thank you for saying that. It's just
Whammy!
Whammy. That clip's going in there. We also got, who else? We have Conchata Ferrell from Two and a Half Men.
Rest in peace.
It's so many TV people, and all, for the most part, comedy people. But it's played pretty straightforward as a movie.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, there's not a lot of, like, all the comedic moments are situational.
Yeah, it's definitely sitcom, which is ironic because very seldom I feel, and I don't know, this might just be my own opinion, where you get an ensemble cast like this that's a lot of like TV, especially in kind of a darker tone project such as Krampus. It doesn't tend to work very well. So the fact that this movie was firing on all cylinders and the roller coaster ride that it is, it actually worked really well.
Yeah, everyone had great chemistry. It felt like watching two real families not get along.
Yep.
One side wants to be the more kind of uptight, pristine, everything's...
Looks like Martha Stewart threw up in here.
Right. So I have a quote here from our director about the impact that this film had. So, quote, "This is a Christmas movie at its core. It was very important to us to retain the Christmas spirit and have something to say about the state of the holiday. That meant examining Christmas movies as their own genre. A lot of them have families struggling to deal with each other and deal with Christmas. The idea of letting a horror movie invade that and forcing this family's fears to really come to life in a complete different fashion was too tempting to resist, end quote. And I'm going to give the source reference, which is freshfiction.tv. Thank you for allowing us to use this quote.
I like this director. He's done like 3, maybe he's done a few more things, but he's got Trick or Treat before this. He had Krampus, and then he followed that up with Godzilla King of the Monsters, which, you know, a lot of people give that movie flack. As a Godzilla fan, it's pretty good. It's not anything to write home about, but as a Godzilla movie, not a lot of them are.
Right. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It was a great follow-up to the remake's original. I don't even know what you would call that.
The legendary films. And hey, it had more Godzilla than the first one, so it's fine. It's kind of a couple things. It reminds me a lot of Gremlins, just in the sense that like there's not a lot of Christmas horror comedy movies. And then it also really makes me think of like this movie in itself is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation meets The Thing. And I'm not sure if everyone else is going to see this The Thing reference. And I think it's just more in the mystery. There's like a scene when they are in the daughter's boyfriend's house, and there's this tension in the air. And
whoever did this is a demented son of a bitch.
The opening of the film.
oh, the opening is amazing.
Oh, it is. Oh. Working in retail, I mean, I've seen chaos on Black Friday, and if you're not familiar with it, the opening scene of Krampus is Bing Crosby over everybody like piling through like a big box store, like a Best Buy or a Walmart, something like that, and just
Beating each other over things.
just kicking each other's ass over a flat screen TV, a video game system, what have you, and it's just like it's a perfect dichotomy of the American dream, so to speak. You know,
Yeah.
it's like everybody like saves up their money and gets these doorbuster deals, and it's just like everybody just turns into a complete savage, and it's great because it's totally ironic and it sets the pace from the get-go.
I'm trying to think any other kind of movie that opens like the way this does, where it's so everything's in slow motion. It feels like the triumphant moment in another movie.
Oh my gosh, Jingle All the Way.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, it's
Funny.
like, yeah, it's got some Jingle All the Way. Oh man, have you watched that movie more recently? Because it has not.
Yes.
I don't know. It hasn't aged the best.
No.
I don't think it was good in the first place. I don't know why movies that made Arnold Schwarzenegger talk too much really didn't understand what to do with the man.
Well, Kindergarten Cop is one of the better ones, I feel.
Let's talk about that whole neighborhood. This whole movie is shot on a soundstage, but it feels like a real neighborhood. Some of the best fake snow I've ever seen.
And what was that snow made of?
It was made of diapers.
Diapers.
Which,
Ooh.
that
Shredded
is...
diapers.
I would love to meet all the people that did all the practical effects on this movie, because they deserve so much. The CGI is using this so sparingly that it works perfectly. It's like the only thing that's really CGI is the little weird gingerbread men.
Yeah, which, you know what, that's a fun character and a little bit terrifying. Obviously, it's a nice rendition from what we're used to in our childhood or in Shrek, you know.
Yeah, that worked just because, like, trying to do gingerbread men, like, I was reading a couple of interviews with him that they thought about using stop motion. It almost would have broke the immersion of the movie. Weirdly enough, those worked, because it's like those little guys, there's a CGI shoe, and then everything else is practical effects. And man, those toy monsters are out of this world.
The Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box is horrifying. Kids disappear, but like, yeah, they're not dead.
Yeah.
They just...
It's never like it's never direct violence against kids, but yeah, it's definitely implied.
Yeah, and there's like the Tremors monster that's going through the snow, or the Jack in the Box that's eating the little girl, which might be one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen.
The chubby kid when he gets pulled up the fireplace.
Oh man, that's one of the best scenes of the movie.
The opinions expressed during the presentation of going off script via Spilt Milk Productions or any associates are conversational in nature and expressed only for informational purposes and additionally are not constituting any advice or services. Not all the facts will be correct, but we will attempt to be as close to the truth as possible. Spilt Milk Productions holds no liability or the conversations presented on this podcast. By listening to this podcast, you understand that it is solely for the purposes of entertainment. Furthermore, some episodes may focus on violence toward communities, race, sex, identity. We do not condone any sort of violence, even towards children. Although, given our dark and twisted personalities, we find it extremely funny when the young are attacked in film and media. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, parody, scholarship, and research.
When that hook comes down with the candy on it, I thought they were gonna steal the baby. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna take this baby. Because the MPAA is more upset about babies getting hurt than like just about anything else in movies. And again, it makes sense. It's kind of a horrific thing to watch a baby be mutilated.
What's wrong with its eyes? But you know, when we finally do, because I mean, there's a little like hints, like they hear something walking on the roof, and like, is that reindeer? And the German grandma's like, that's not a reindeer.
Austrian grandmother.
Austrian. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you, I appreciate it. But she knew what it was, and she kind of didn't really allude too much into it until she tells the story.
The one time she speaks English the entire movie and then goes back to not speaking English.
Yeah, love that. It's like, oh, what's the comment?
English. I knew it.
No, Krampus. The Krampus himself is incredible. It looks like a rejected costume from the Village.
Yeah, you're not even kidding. That's a great comparison.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when I watched it, and then the fact that it's wearing a mask of like Santa Claus's face, so you don't really see what's underneath it, and they take their time to show you it, which is I think my favorite part of this movie is that they kind of show it off earlier in the film in terms of like shadows and jumping around when it's chasing down Beth. If I wish that we didn't see it as much in those scenes, it doesn't really take anything away from the movie because when it finally does, when it shows up to fight Grandma, I was just like, oh, this is perfect. Like, this is the exact moment that you show this thing. And even then, they're kind of reserve it. It's more left for when Max takes him on at the end or confronts him to be like, give me my family back.
Yeah, and then Krampus hands out the bell. He hands off that bell to him as a memento. And yeah, that part, I can remember the first time I watched it, and it was just like one of those like stunning moments. It was like, oh my gosh, this creature is so well done. They did such a great job on it.
And towards the end of the film, you have the perfect use of Silent Night. The most terrifying use of a song that, especially growing up in churches, is burned into my brain. And
mine too.
Now has like a whole new meaning to when I hear that song. I just think of people one by one getting picked off.
And there's a scene towards the end of the film where Krampus first makes his presence known, and he's got his whole army of minions. I don't know if you remember that. But that's a truly menacing scene as well because they're all just standing outside, and it's almost like the devil and his minions are just like waiting outside for them.
Is that when they all break in the house and like take the baby?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes, yeah.
And the Acme sound effects that just start happening.
Yeah.
It's just like bong, bong.
And I think that lends its hand to the comedic nature of it. Because, yes, it is dark. It's a very dark story. But there definitely is some comedic elements to it. And I liked that. And I think some people might consider it cheesy. But to us, I think it's brilliant.
Well, also, that's why I kind of like it lends to, this is a good horror film to introduce, like I said, to introduce you into horror. Because it's scary. Right. But it's not over the top. Like, if you showed like a 12-year-old this movie, this would scare the shit out of them.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In terms of, like it's, as an adult, it's like, oh, it's like you feel for people, especially the ending kind of wraps things up, and it's a lot less terrifying once the ending hits.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the better endings to a film of this magnitude. Because, you know, it's just like, oh, like everything's like, oh, it's a dream, and then you get down to it, and it's just like, oh, wait a second, and there's that shock and awe and deadly silence in the room as Max unwraps the present, and everybody's like, oh my god, that wasn't a dream.
There's a comic book that came out that apparently implies that, like, they just get to continue going on. Krampus is just always watching over them to make sure that they don't up.
All right. Well,
Which I was like, all right, that's fine.
so it's, it is truly the opposite of Santa. So it's like, if you guys mess up again, then I'm coming back for you. You ain't just getting coal. You're getting eaten by the Jack-in-the-Box snake thing that looks like it should have come from Beetlejuice. Well, Jake, did you have any more thoughts to add?
I don't think so. I would suggest, we didn't go too deep into spoilers with Krampus, and either way, if you haven't seen it, I highly suggest checking it out. Currently, it's available on Peacock at the time of this recording, or it's available on most sites to rent. As Cannon says, it's a movie he watches with his family. If your family's into such types of films, highly suggest that, or get a good group of friends together. If you've got friends that aren't big into horror movies and you want to watch something different for Christmas, this is great.
Yeah. This is the gateway drug, like weed. All right. Well, with that, I believe that concludes our first production. We want to thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We'll be back at some point. Our next movie we'll be discussing will be another holiday classic for Cannon and I, the Steve Martin, John Candy road trip comedy, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
You're going the wrong way. I cannot wait to dissect this with you. It's going to be a blast.
I can't either. It's one of my favorite movies from my childhood, and I can't wait to revisit it. Again, thank you so much.
A movie from my life, and now we're going to share a movie from Jake's life.
And then we're going to get weird from there on out.
Oh, yeah. Maybe The Room. Who knows?
That or Malignant. We're going to talk about movies like The Room.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, once again, I'm Cannon. This is Jake. We've been going off script, and we hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Make sure you're good so Krampus doesn't come to visit you.